Okay, let's talk about adding and subtracting functions. Right here I have two linear functions. I have f of x is 3x minus 7 and g of x is 2x minus 4. And if I want to add those functions together, I'm going to just write them in line 3x minus 7 plus 2x minus 4. Now, if it's helpful to you, we can kind of change these minuses to be the sum of negatives. That's one step that we don't necessarily need to do if we're pretty comfortable with our minuses, but I'm still going to show the workout for doing that anyway. Okay, so now that we have our functions added and separated by a bunch of pluses, we can just look for like terms and then add their coefficients. So here, oops, I noticed a mistake I made right here. This is a 2. So now we can look for our like terms. We have a positive 3x and a positive 2x. 3 plus 2 is going to give us 5x. Looking for our constant terms, I have a negative 7 and a negative 4. Negative 7 plus negative 4 is a negative 11. If we want to simplify that, that is the same as a 5x minus 11. Final answer. Let's try the same two functions, but this time subtracted. So that's going to be 3x minus 7. And we're going to subtract our g of x, which is 2x minus 4. Now I'm putting that in parentheses because we do need to distribute this minus to both of the terms in the second function. So I'm going to keep this first one the same, and I'm going to do what I did before, which is translate that to plus a negative number, so that when we go add our coefficients, it's a little easier. So here we're going to add a negative 2x, and we're going to add a positive 4. Right when we do our minus and our negative, a minus negative changes to a plus. So now again, we're going to look for our like terms, positive 3x and negative 2x. If we add those coefficients, that is a positive x. And then we'll look for our constant terms, our numbers with no x's, that is a negative 7 and a positive 4. If I add negative 7 and positive 4, that is a negative 3. I can simplify that one step further, and that would be x minus 3, final answer. Okay, let's try a couple more. Here I have two new functions. F of x is 2x plus 3, g of x is x squared plus x over 2 minus 7. And so again, to add these, I'm going to just write them in line. 2x plus 3 plus x squared plus x over 2 minus 7. And we're going to look for our like terms. So first of all, I see this x squared. I don't see any other x squared, so he is already by himself. And since we're going to try to write our function in proper format, we always start with the highest exponent term first. Then we'll look for our x terms. And so this one's a little trickier if we struggle with fractions, but I have a 2x here and I have x over 2 here. Those are like terms. They both have an x. And I'm going to recognize that x over 2 is the same as 1/2. And so I'm really adding 2 plus 1/2, okay? This is 2x plus 1/2 x. And I want my fraction to have common denominators. So I'm actually going to change this to be 2 is the same as times it by 2 over 2. So that we have common denominators. So that looks like 4 over 2 and 1 over 2. So 4/2 and 1/2 turns into 5/2. Okay, and then for our constant terms, I see here a positive 3 and a negative 7. 3 and negative 7 is a negative 4. And that looks like our final answer. Let's try the same two functions, but instead of adding, we'll subtract them. So that is a 2x plus 3 minus, and I'm going to put my whole g function in parentheses so that I remember to distribute that minus on all three terms. So that'll be a 2x plus 3 minus x squared minus x over 2, and our minus on the 7 turns into a plus. Okay? Again, our x squared is alone, but he is a negative now. When we look for our x terms, I have a positive 2x minus x over 2. So remember that is 2 take away 1/2. Okay? 2 take away a half would be 1.5. 1.5 as a fraction would be 3/2. And then on our constant terms, we have a positive 3 and a positive 7. 3 plus 7 is 10. Let's try another set here. We have f of x is 4x plus 1 and g of x is x squared minus 5. Adding those two functions will look like 4x plus 1 plus x squared minus 5. So we're looking for like terms again. The x squared is unique. There are no other x squared terms. The 4x is unique. There are no other x terms. And then on my constants, I have a positive 1 and a negative 5. 1 take away 5 is a minus 4. Let's try subtracting our functions. We're going to start with the 4x plus 1, and we're going to subtract the quantity of x squared minus 5. So remember, we need to distribute that minus. That's going to turn into 4x plus 1 minus x squared plus 5. Minus on the 5 turns them into a plus 5. And then if we look for our like terms again, we have the minus x squared to start us off. He's unique. No other x squareds to pair him with. Positive 4x is unique. No other x terms to pair him with. And then for our constant terms, we have a positive 1 and a positive 5. 1 and 5 gives us a 6. Okay, that's it for adding and subtracting functions. Please let me know if you have any questions.